tough loss in Week 9 to the Atlanta Falcons, well, it puts some things into perspective for the Dallas Cowboys. You might be asking me, well, what did they put into perspective? Well, it's time to wake up because it gets real for the Dallas Cowboys moving forward, and it all starts against the Philadelphia Eagles today. And I'm here to rewind you through the entire week leading up into it all here on Cowboys Rewind. The Cowboys leaving Mercedes-Benz Stadium banged up, and Mike McCarthy announcing his status for Week 10 Monday. Dak will not be available, so insert Cooper Rush, who, if you remember, his last start was against Philly in 2022, replacing Dak, who suffered a calf injury. And during that stretch that year, Rush won 4 of the next 5 games, keeping Dallas's season alive. So the confidence is high from Mike McCarthy.
Cooper Rush is as respected as a backup quarterback that I would say since Rich Gannon, when I was Rich in the 90s of Kansas City Chiefs. He carries that type of credibility. He's a great teammate. He's someone that you can see the young guys lean on. He's wicked smart, instinctive, does a great job on when he runs a scout team. So he just does everything the right way. Excellent pro, and like I said, there'll be plenty of confidence in him.
Well, Mike McCarthy's confident, but how about the rest of the building? It was a hot topic on the podcast this week. Here's the Girls Talk, Boys Talk crew sharing their thoughts.
What I will say, something I've learned because of Cooper Rush and being here the last couple of seasons, is what they do with your backup quarterback is they have essentially I don't want to say a watered-down game plan, but a game plan that is very similar to what you would do with Dak Prescott. Obviously, he's not Dak Prescott. I know that. But Cooper Rush is comfortable in the system. He knows it. Mm-hmm. He's no stranger to it. And another plus, Christy, to your point of having Flanoy and Jalen Brooks and Jalen Tolbert and even Rico Dowdle, all of them have worked very closely with Cooper Rush when they weren't getting those first guy snaps. So for me, they're comfortable with him. I know it's not a time to be positive, guys. I'm trying really hard, but I will say, that's a fact. So they have that chemistry with him. They trust Cooper Rush. And again, something I learned from Cooper Rush specifically, him and I have had conversations of, hey, how do you stay ready? How do you because you never know as a backup quarterback when you're going to need to go in. And something Cooper Rush does is he takes initiative to continue to get those reps when he can, especially with those younger guys. So all of these guys that you're seeing come up this year, especially, like I said, Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks, even Rico Dowdle, those were his guys that they were getting the second reps in with for the majority of the time that they've been here, if not the entire time, Flanoy. So I'm happy that we're in a comfortable position with a backup quarterback that knows the system, and it's not even more panic playing the catch-up game with a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Aisha's stressed.
Everything.
I don't blame you.
Everything just said is true as far as them knowing Cooper Rush, having experience with Cooper Rush, spending the time during preseason and all this stuff. Y'all, this is ugly, bro. Mm-hmm. I'm just being honest with y'all. This is just, and I think we did see some
good things,
some things from Cooper Rush coming in. I will say, as opposed to previous years, I feel like he's a little bit more willing to throw the ball deep and a little bit more willing to take some risk and some chances. Because I know that's something he gets stereotyped with, is that he's just kind of bus driver, whatever the case may be. But there was a couple balls he put on the money yesterday. Yeah. That could have put you in that game.
Oh, yeah. Let me ask, and Nicole, I'm interested in your opinion on this. In regards to Trey Lance, because I think that Trey Lance getting some time would be a few weeks from now, if Dak's out several weeks, that it's not going to be an immediate thing.
Yeah, of course.
I think so. I have kind of mixed feelings about the Cooper Rush starting and Trey Lance not getting any play time as of right now. Yeah. Because you look back at what Cooper Rush has done for this organization, and Mike McCarthy even talked about it. He's won some games. He's 4-1 in his starts here with the Cowboys. You look back in the 2022 season, he started actually in Philly. He'll be starting again this week against Philly. But if you're looking for someone who you're asking of Dak to be that mobile quarterback, use his legs, that's Trey Lance. He does that a little bit more, in my opinion. I think Cooper Rush has the ability, but if you're looking for looking for the deep ball, vertical balls, then that's also Cooper Rush. You saw that when he threw that deep ball to CeeDee Lamb. I think both of them give you good things.
I hear everything that you two are saying about him doing this before. He's half the experience and everything. However, when you look within that offense when he was playing, holy crap, they leaned on that defense very heavily. Mm-hmm. Holy crap, they were the worst in the NFL on third down. Mm-hmm. Holy crap, I'm just saying, like, there were so many things that weren't good within this offense, and this offense is worse now.
Yep.
Run game, scheme, talent, everything's worse. So to me, again, I do understand, like, he could come in and be the most efficient and everything, but who's to say that? Mm-hmm. Who's to say that?
You don't know.
Specifically with how not good this offensive line is playing, he isn't mobile. He isn't someone that can escape the pocket and do things outside of there. He did get a little wig. He had a little wiggle to him yesterday.
Yeah.
When you have a 300-pound person chasing you, you find wiggle.
You find it in you to be a little mobile.
I seen him. I said, Cooper, are you on the move, big dog? I said, are you adding that to your arsenal? So I will say that. So I hear y'all, but with the circumstance, I do think that Nicole poses a good point with Trey Lance. I agree, Christy. I think it will be later down the line if necessary because, baby, let me tell you something. Let him get that playing time. Let him possibly put some good tape out here because if you talking draft, rumble, it's seriously getting to that point. So those are my comments about the quarterback situation. It just feels icky.
It is Cooper Rush time, but are the receivers ready to step up and rally behind him? Well, if not, there's certainly one coming in looking to give them a reason to. The Cowboys welcome in Jonathan Mingo. That's up next.
Cowboys Rewind is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by SWBC Mortgage, customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit swbc.com. This segment is brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
At 3-5 in the season, the Dallas Cowboys decided that this year they're going to buy and not sell ahead of the 2024 NFL trade deadline. And that's no surprise at all because historically, this team has not been a selling team. Over the last 20 years, they've only traded away 2 players. But the transaction this year, the Cowboys sent a 2025 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo and a 7th-round pick to the Carolina Panthers and receive, of course, Jonathan Mingo, like I said, and receive a 7th-round pick. But Mingo has 2 years left on his contract. So is this a long-term decision, or do the Cowboys expect Mingo instantly to come in and make an impact? The Cowboys, the crew on Talking Cowboys crew shared their thoughts.
The thing about Jonathan Mingo is that he does present a steady hand in terms of the wide receiver position that you haven't necessarily had without Brandon Cooks in the fold.
Correct, but here's my problem with it. And I think Mingo has potential. 2 things are true. I believe he has potential. I believe this is too rich for my blood.
Agreed.
On the 4th-round pick.
Yes.
I believe this is an overpay. And I believe this is an overpay driven by a sense of desperation, whether the front office will admit it or not, because you're 3-5. You're coming off your 3rd consecutive loss. You haven't won at home, and now your next home game is against the Philadelphia Eagles. You're heading into this 4-game gauntlet. You lose you might lose wide receiver 1. He's likely to play, but he's not healthy at all. He's far below healthy. And then Dak Prescott, you lose your franchise quarterback for a minimum 4 games. Things are spiraling. Right. So I think the Panthers knew that, and Panthers said, hey, you're going to have to overpay if you want to get Jonathan Mingo. So, again, the potential is there. But when you look at, what he was unable to do, and like you said, Kyle, you're accurate. The Panthers are a bad team, and they were a bad offense. The Cowboys right now are a bad team, and the Cowboys have a bad offense.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Okay, so you're giving up a 4th-round pick for a guy
to take a shot on a guy.
To take a shot on the guy who wasn't able to produce on a bad offense, and I say that because he has to be thrown the ball by a quality quarterback, and things have to happen.
He
right?
at least has one of those there,
right.
which is nice.
Which is fair.
And the QB position in Carolina is up for debate at this point.
And
there's no consistency there.
I say that
either.
to say, kind of segue back to what I said yesterday, which was, and this is not a shot at Mingo. Again, I believe he has potential. But even if this was a blockbuster trade, the blockbuster trade doesn't fix nearly as many issues as you need repaired in order for the season to get back on track. So
It solidifies the wide receiver core for the next couple of years at least, and especially with you have Kevontae Turpin out there, who's just the wide receiver core that you have. I mean, there are deficiencies there, obviously, deficiencies in the run blocking, deficiencies in receiving, actually catching the ball downfield. I think some players are playing out of position at the moment, and at least you solidify that wide receiver too yet again. Just to reiterate that point, I think it's a solid move to Rich.
Yeah, this is not the 2018 Cowboys at 3-4 going into Monday Night Football against the Tennessee Titans and trading for Amari Cooper. That's not what this is.
That's not that.
This is let's give this guy who's 23 years old, who was a second-round pick out of Ole Miss, give him a shot to find his footing in Dallas as opposed to elsewhere, because Carolina's selling pieces. They're gonna continue to be bad for the foreseeable future, and they're gonna sell some of their high end pieces as the years go along and continue to try and stack up draft picks. So Dallas looks at it and says, "Hey, we're gonna try and pick swap. We've got a 7th coming back here, but if it was a 5th, I think I would be a little bit more excited."
I would be more
because
with that.
If we're talking middle day 2 picks, and if you're trying to set up a wide receiver 2 on your roster for the future, by all means, all right, sounds good. But a 4th round pick is a premium pick.
Would you trade Jake Ferguson for Jonathan Mingo? So that's where I get stuck.
And I get it. There's probably some.
Who's drafting the 4th round for those that don't know?
Yeah, there's some pause on. How have the Cowboys used that 4th round pick in the past? How have they used it in the past? Well, they used it last year on Trey Lance. A couple years prior, they used it on Jake Ferguson.
And the Trey Lance thing, you see what I mean?
Yeah, they're throwing it out there a couple different times. So they obviously don't have a huge respect for that 4th round pick, and they're going to go try and find a wide receiver too.
A lot of things still up in the air regarding that wide receiver room, but still things in the defensive side of the ball. Seems like they're starting to figure things out, specifically in Week 9. How do they continue to build off of that type of performance? That's up next.
This segment was brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
Getting pressure on an opposing quarterback, defending the run, and improving on tackling. Those were the 3 things asked of this Dallas defense ahead of Week 9 against the Atlanta Falcons. And it was something that wasn't consistent, but they certainly improved. The Girls Talk, Boys Talk crew broke it all down on how they can translate that into the Eagles matchup.
There was to Bonnie Jill's point, there was an energy, and these guys did play with energy. Their offense just left them out to dry.
Yeah.
I thought the defense did, specifically in that first half, too. They did more than enough to put the offense in a position to be able to score and to do some things. Dallas could have taken advantage. Dallas could have made that game a 2-possession game going into the half. So as far as the defense goes, Zimmer is working with he's working with having a lot of pieces not there, and they still were able to find some success. I will say, even with what's going on the offensive side of the ball and all the injuries, if Carl Lawson is going to play better football like that, if Oso Odighizuwa is going to play football like that, if DeMarvion Overshown is going to play football like that, I do think that gives your front 7 a boost if you are going to get a Micah Parsons back at some point in time. So yeah, there were some positives to take from this game, and I think they're mostly on the defensive side.
Yeah, and I did think of a positive. I mentioned it yesterday.
Thank you, Chris.
No, I was still upset from the 15 missed tackles, and we did mention it yesterday, the defense got 2 3-and-outs in the fourth quarter and set up the offense to have a game-winning drive.
And that
the
was
offense didn't get it.
Yeah.
So 2 3, that's all you get. And guess what? They did the same thing against San Francisco.
Yes, they did.
And gave the Cowboys offense a chance to win the game at the end in the fourth quarter. So as bad as the third quarter has been, you mentioned that was a good first half for the defense in Atlanta, but that's all you can ask of your defense is to give your offense a chance to win, and they stood up when it mattered in the fourth quarter.
Do you feel like this is, at least it's something to build off of?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Philly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Heck
yes.
yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
specifically with Carl Lawson, I mean, like, Matthews, the left tackle for Atlanta, isn't nobody to snuff at. I mean, he has his few issues and stuff like that, but he is considered one of the better tackles in the NFL, and he took him to church a couple of times out there. And so seeing him, you know, maybe getting his legs under him to this point and showing off some of the explosiveness was helpful. But yeah, I mean, some of the uses of DeMarvion Overshown, I've seen him. He's drawing double teams out here in these streets. I mean, there's some things that you can take from this, and I do think if you were to get a Micah back, you do have a few rushers on this defensive line that may be able to cause some disruption moving forward.
And when you take this Eagles offensive line and the way that they're playing and tie that into who they're blocking for in Saquon Barkley, it'll certainly be a challenge. Saquon Barkley coming to Dallas and AT&T Stadium. How can the Dallas defense stop them? Can they stop them? That's up next.
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today. And to watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV.
The Philadelphia Eagles offense has taken the league by storm the last few weeks. They've won the last 4 straight games. They also boast the 6th best offense in the NFL. And when you talk about the run game alone, it's the 2nd best with Saquon Barkley leading the room. Another dynamic back the Cowboys defense will have to contain, and it became a hot topic of conversation on Talking Cowboys.
With the addition of Saquon Barkley and the level of play that he is delivering for them right now, it's keeping Jalen Hurts fresh for the long run because he's not having to take off and run as much. But it also makes the things like read options that much more effective because you have no choice but to respect what Saquon Barkley is doing. He's averaging just under 116 rushing yards per game. I didn't say 116 from scrimmage average. I said just rushing. But he's also doing it as a receiver out of the backfield. Oh, and by the way, he's turning his back on guys and hurdling them without even looking at them, right?
That play was unbelievable.
He's turning
right
back
now,
time.
Yeah, right now,
Eagles,
play of the season right now. So when you look at that offense, you know, A.J. Brown is still doing A.J. Brown things. Devontae Smith, he's still very much a threat. Dallas Goedert, when he's healthy, he can still help stretch down the seams. But Saquon Barkley, his presence, his productivity, it blows up defenses because you're having such a hard time stopping him that you're starting to throw an extra 1 or 2 guys at him, and all that does is open up things for AJ and Devontae and Jalen to throw down the field for guess who's the offensive coordinator? Kellen Moore, right?
Yeah.
So and Kellen Moore, although he's the offensive coordinator, he knows all the tricks of McCarthy's play scheme. He knows the entire playbook because to a degree the Cowboys are still running a large chunk of Kellen Moore's playbook.
Right.
So you better believe Kellen Moore is giving the
whatever
the
Dak
intel.
wanted to keep of that playbook,
so,
right?
And now it's not even Dak. It's Cooper Rush on top of that. So,
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, there's but kind of flipping back to the Cowboys defense versus the Eagles offense, man. Saquon Barkley, I'm not going to say the Eagles they go as Saquon goes because they were effective before they got Saquon, but they weren't this.
Well, the Cowboys had some success against Bijan Robinson and the rest of that Atlanta Falcons running back room, holding them to 100 yards in Week 9. Hopefully they find some success with Barkley. But how do these two teams overall match up? That's up next year as we wrap things up on Cowboys Rewind.
Cowboys Rewind was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by SWBC Mortgage, customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit swbc.com.
We are just a few hours away from kickoff. The Dallas Cowboys back at home in AT&T Stadium, hosting the Philadelphia Eagles, and it has been a rivalry, a historic rivalry that dates back to 1960. The Cowboys lead the all-time series 74-56, and you look at the past 2 seasons, they've went 1-1. They split the series, but these are 2 teams that are now coming in completely 2 different states of their seasons. You first start with the Philadelphia Eagles. They're second in the NFC East, and surging, having won 4 straight games since their bye week, playing their best ball right now. You have a top 10 offense that they boast, a top 3 defense. Then on the flip side, you have the Dallas Cowboys, on the other hand, who are 0-3 at home, really struggling this year, which is a complete opposite of last year. They're 3-5 overall, really struggling to put together wins, and there's been injuries on top of injuries. But everything seems to be unraveling here for the Cowboys. If there's one thing, though, that this team has consistently shown this year is the fight. You've seen it in the final minutes of the 49ers loss against the Steelers, against the 49ers. I mean, you saw it in the final minutes of the Falcons loss as well. It's in them, but this time it'll be Cooper Rush leading the pack and pulling out that fight the boys have in them. It's a 3:25 kickoff, an NFC East divisional matchup on the line. How bad do the Cowboys want it? I don't know. Only time will tell. It's going to be a fun game to watch. Cowboys Nation, make sure to grab your popcorn. We'll have pregame live coming up before the show, before the real show. That's the football game that kicks off at 3:25 on CBS.